Chapter 170. Hand it over. The spiritual sword chooses its owner too. Sanshi smiled. Since this woman was shameless enough to pluck his tea leaves, he would shamelessly use her as free labor. What do you mean by picking tea leaves for you? This is mine. Liu hurriedly waved her hand, wanting to put away the tea leaves. What's yours? Give it home. Sanshi grabbed Liu's hand and threw it out, without caring that she was a girl and weaker than him. Then, he put the jade basins filled with tea leaves on the ground into his storage ring. Liu landed 100 feet away in a sorry state. When she saw that Sanshi actually took the fruits of her labor, she was so angry that she trembled. You're too shameless. The tea leaves are mine. She had deliberately placed the tea leaves she had picked here just to anger Sanshi. Who would have thought that she would be beaten up and taken advantage of? When is it yours? Don't you know that this tea tree is a reward from your father to me? Sanshi's expression was calm as he put away the ancient tea tree. Liu pointed at Sanshi and flew into a rage. You said you gave it to me. How can you go back on your word? What kind of man are you? I said I gave it to you. I only asked you to pluck all the leaves you want. You misunderstood me words yourself. How is that my foe? Sanshi smiled with his hands behind his back. Thank you for picking the tea leaves for me. I'll stir-fry the tea now and make a cup of tea. You can stand here to admire the fragrance of the tea. Yang true fire appeared in his palm. Then, he took out a portion of tea leaves and began to stir-fry them. Immediately, the will-o-wisp of the tea leaves bloomed. Sanshi hurriedly shot out runes to seal the essence inside to prevent it from being lost. A wave of fragrance spread out, refreshing one's heart. The more Liu looked at it, the angrier she became. She rushed over and wanted to snatch the tea leaves. With a bang, Sanshi sent her flying with a punch. This gave Liu a black eye which made her look like a panda. How dare you embarrass me? Liu's face was covered in dirt as she glared at Sanshi in shame and anger. It was one thing for this person to hit her previously, as only Grandpa Nightmare had seen it. Now that the entire sect and even other sects had seen her getting beat up, how could she face others in the future? What does it have to do with me? If you want to snatch my things, that's what I'll do. It doesn't matter who you are. Sanshi said coldly. He took out some of the stir-fried tea leaves and threw them into a cup. Then, he boiled water and began to make tea. Such was the benefit of cultivation. All kinds of miscellaneous things could be placed in storage bags or storage rings. It was also very convenient to start a fire anywhere he wanted. When the people around them saw Sanshi's relaxed expression and Liu's panda eyes, their hearts skipped a beat. Lu Ju, who was studying the array formation in front of him, turned around and frowned slightly. Liu, come here. Dad. Look. Liu pointed at her bruised eyes. You've never even hit me like this. The corner of Lu Ji's mouth twitched. He was indeed a little angry. Why do you have to be so mean to a woman? Elder Bloodrobes, if she didn't mess with me, nothing would have happened. Sanshi replied indifferently and poured the hot water into the cup. Immediately, the fragrance of tea filled the air. A faint white light spilled out from it. There were actually runes jumping around, vaguely wanting to combine together as if an article was being written. This is really something. His gaze was attracted by the phenomenon in front of him, and he stopped paying attention to Liu. Father, look at his attitude. Does he even take you, the sect master, seriously? Liu continued to fan the flames. Alright, do you know where this place is? Killing arrays are everywhere and there might be danger at any time. Can't you be quiet for a while? Lu Ju berated. There were so many people here. How could he side with his daughter, and she was obviously in the wrong? Why are you scolding me again? What did I dour on? Liu was so angry that she cried. Alright, since I'm just a burden, I won't disturb you here, okay? With that, she turned around and ran out, crying. Sanshi's expression did not change. Little girl, I'm not even afraid of death. You think I can't deal with a pampered young lady like you? Sanshi lowered his head and took a sip of tea. He felt his mind clear up and become active. Even with my high comprehension, this tea is still effective. Not bad. Sanshi sipped his tea with a satisfied expression. This is how life should be. Tasting tea and drinking wine. Free and unrestrained. Sanshi thought to himself, this is what cultivation should be. Brother Bloodrobes, can I have a drink? Old Man Nightmare appeared at the sign. Of course. Sanshi hated people like Lu Yuayu who purposely looked for trouble, but he did not dislike having casual conversations. He took out a teacup and made a cup for Old Man Nightmare. He looked at the people who continued to break the formation in the distance, and asked curiously, "Elder Nightmare, aren't you going to help?" Old Man Nightmare took a sip of tea and his eyes flickered. He sighed. "Good tea," he answered Sanshi's question. "I'm mainly in charge of taking care of Miss. It's fine if I don't go. TSK, someone like her really needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, she would have long been killed outside." Sanshi was disdainful. In his opinion, so what if she was a goddess? With such a personality, she would not be able to live long in the cultivation world and could only rely on her elders to protect her. However, how long can such protection even last? Sigh. I know that Brother Blood Robes is an emotional person as well. I too hate it when Miss is unruly and willful. Old Man Nightmare sigh. Actually, Miss wasn't like this when she was young. When Madam was still around, Miss was very obedient. Stop, you don't have to give me a reason. If I don't like her, I won't change my mind. I'm not interested in humoring her. Sanshi raised his hand to stop him, but Old Man Nightmare did not stop. Brother Blood Robes, you still need to know why this happened. Miss' mother was killed in front of her by the Yi family, and she was 7 years old. Furthermore, her tendons and bones were pulled out and she was slowly tortured to death. After that stimulation, Miss' personality changed drastically and she became extremely temperamental. The sect master felt guilty and hence became more indulgent. That's why Miss is so unruly today. Oh. Sanshi replied with one word and nothing else. Actually, Miss is a bad person. But, alright, there's no need to speak up for her. There are many people in this world who are suffering and she's not the only one. I'll say it again. If she dares to provoke me again, I'll not hesitate to teach her how to be a person. The Dharma treasures on Sanshi's waist, the blood river, released a bloodlight that drowned him. He said impatiently, I want to restore nomological power. I will start cultivating now. He hid in the bloodlight and began to cultivate on the spot. Old Man Nightmare was left speechless. This blood-robed old ghost's personality was also so domineering. If Miss didn't restrain herself, she would definitely still suffer. He turned to leave, resigned to his fate, in order not to deepen the conflict. Outside, the other sects also broke through the nodes one after another. Every time a node was broken, the miasma that enveloped the basin would fade a little. This was because the overall defensive array formation was constantly weakening. Hence the difficulty of breaking the array was also decreasing. The light in the entire basin was getting better, and everyone's vision became clearer. The strange thing was that Heavenly Star Perfected Lord, who had found the node, did not attack at all. The people from the Heaven Secret Office too did not care about attacking the node. After most of the nodes were broken, he said, the main body of the outer array formation has been destroyed. Let's go. With a tap of his finger, the light of the node in front of him changed, and an entrance directly appeared. There was no need to forcefully break through the array formation. Let's go. This is the library pavilion area. We should be able to obtain more information about this ruin. He led the big group into the array formation. This array formation on the way was extremely obedient, as if he was the one who created it. There was no obstruction at all, making some people who had worked hard to break their array envious. As expected of the #1 array formation expert in Great Jin, he entered without much effort. He used his brains, but we used brute force. That's right, ordinary people are not qualified to study array formations. Upon hearing the discussion, Sanshi opened his eyes. Through the much clearer basin space, he saw that the Heaven Secret Office had led them into a library. He rushed here immediately, as expected of someone who specializes in obtaining information. If I can obtain information about the array formation from it, it won't be a problem for me to control array formations in the future too. As Sanshi thought about it, he suddenly heard a sword cry. In the distance, a will-o-wisp soared into the sky. Stop the spiritual sword. The cultivators of the trading company, who were collecting the sword in the sword tomb, were flustered. In the end, they still could not block it. The spiritual sword actually flew towards the Demon Slayer's division and finally stopped in front of a valiant-looking woman. Sanshi was stunned. This woman was Chen Yiling. The latter was also in a daze. In the next second, The spiritual sword swayed at Chen Yiling as if it was nodding. Then, it fused into her body in a flash, causing the cultivators who were about to chase after the sword to be dumbfounded. The spiritual sword chooses its master. Looks like everyone has no fate with it. Sword Emperor Gale of the Demon Slayers Division laughed. Yiling, hurry up and thank the seniors.